what's the verdict?
I am an autumn.
Interesting.
Isn't it?
It's officially fall, so you know what that means. It's Gilmore Girls season, the quintessential fall show with the coziest small town vibes, the most lovable characters, and so many food moments. This is my seventh? Wow, seventh? Yeah, seventh time rewatching the series during the fall. It's sort of become a annual tradition at this point, so I thought it was about time that I ate like a Gilmore Girl. So today I'm recreating a few of the iconic foods in real life from scratch. Don't get me wrong, Lorelai and Rory are total foodies, but their entire diet is essentially just takeout, candy, and coffee, which makes this video pretty ironic considering neither of them cook. But we're gonna channel our inner Suki today, so get comfy, relax, and let's get into it.
Hey, you in the mood for pancakes?
Pancakes, sure. Yeah, I guess we have enough space for pancakes.
Because I'm making pumpkin pancakes, and it comes with homemade cinnamon butter.
You made cinnamon butter.
This morning.
Wow, I bet the other people who'd love a table right now but can't have one because they're all taken would love pumpkin pancakes with homemade cinnamon butter.
I'll get you coffee.
I can't think of anything more perfect for a fall breakfast than pumpkin pancakes. And there's just something about diner pancakes in particular that is so special. Like, they taste so much better than when you make them fresh at home for some reason. But we're gonna do just that. Also, I'm gonna take this time to respectfully say that Season 1 Luke is very nice to look at. Every single year, the second he grazes my screen in episode 1, I'm sat back, giggling, and kicking my feet. But I don't know, I just love him and Lorelai, the definition of a good slow burn. Okay, enough babbling. Luke mentions making homemade cinnamon butter that comes with his pancakes. But to make that even better, I'm using brown butter and whipping in maple syrup, cinnamon, and vanilla. This becomes super light and fluffy, and it'll be perfect generously piped on top of our pancakes later. For the pancake batter, grab a small bowl, or in my case, a barely large enough cup, and toss together all of the dry ingredients. Grab a large mixing bowl and combine all of the wet ingredients in there. That's the pumpkin puree, brown sugar, melted butter, egg, and the milk. Then you add the dry to the wet, along with a healthy amount of pumpkin spice. Just make sure not to over whisk this batter and set it aside for at least 15 minutes before we make the pancakes. Melt a bit of butter in a skillet over medium heat. And I like to use an ice cream scoop here to transfer the pancake batter, but this is about a quarter cup of batter per pancake. Ignore the oil splatters on the wall here. I originally used one of those like oil sprays and it got everywhere, so just stick to butter here. But yeah, just give these about 2 to 3 minutes on each side. I serve these up with the homemade cinnamon butter and lots of maple syrup, of course. And this tasted like the epitome of a cozy fall morning. The pancakes are super fluffy with that slight hint of autumnal warm spices, and with the whipped cinnamon maple butter concoction, so good. And yeah, I just enjoyed this with a cup of coffee. Speaking of coffee, or should I say
Coffee. Right. As in, I really need coffee, coffee, coffee.
The one thing that stays consistent throughout all 7 seasons of this show is Lorelai and Rory's addiction to coffee and their excessive and, quite frankly, impressive caffeine intake. And I love that it sort of fuels their witty back and forth banter and overall chaotic energy. As a perpetual ice latte drinker, I don't typically reach for hot coffee though.
This is a mocha chocolate caramel swirlicino with extra whipped cream.
That sounds disgusting.
It is, and if it was physically possible to make love to a hot beverage, this would be the one.
But Lorelai really hypes this one up. So starting with the first of many sugary components in our mocha chocolate caramel swirl-o-chino with extra whipped cream, let's start with the caramel. In a large skillet, I'm first browning some salted butter. Sounds super fancy, but we're basically caramelizing the milk solids in the butter, which is going to add this nice nutty toasty flavor and offset the sweetness from all of the brown sugar I'm adding here. As soon as the sugar is melted, I stirred in some heavy cream and let that boil for another 2 to 3 minutes, or until it looked something like this. For the chocolate part of this drink, I really wanted to try that viral melting chocolate with espresso trend. You know, where they put that piece of chocolate on top of the cup and then the espresso satisfyingly melts it as it drips onto the chocolate. Yeah, it didn't really work on my first try, but I'd say it was semi-satisfying. If anything, it was very anxiety-inducing, but yeah, I don't know. Basically, you want to melt the caramel and chocolate into a shot of espresso. And since this is a hot coffee beverage, I frothed up some whole milk to pour over the espresso shot. Also, very random, but do you guys also pretend like you're hosting a cooking show while you're cooking? I don't know, it just came to mind because whenever I make lattes like this, I immediately become a barista clocking into my shift at the cozy local coffee shop. Okay, for the final sugary component, I threw together a really quick whipped cream, which is just heavy cream, a bit of maple syrup, and vanilla paste. And to make it pretty, I dusted the top with a bit of cocoa powder and a bit more of the caramel we made earlier. It just felt right to serve this with some apple cider donuts, since they're such an iconic fall treat, and the girls always seem to be grabbing donuts and coffee for breakfast from Luke's. For some reason, this drink, it was so nostalgic. I think it might be that it reminds me of those super sugary coffee drinks I'd order in middle school or high school, but overall, super tasty. Just definitely more of a dessert or treat than an everyday coffee drink for me. I didn't realize till now that this entire video is just me making sweets and not any actual food, but I think that's quite fitting considering their diet. And another reoccurring junk food staple in the Gilmore household seems to be Pop-Tarts.
They are Pop-Tart appetizers to tide you over until the pizza comes.
Thanks.
They make quite a few appearances throughout the entire show, but I don't think they ever mention what flavors they're eating or what their favorite flavors are. So I went with the classic frosted strawberry because it's obviously the best one. So the night before, I prepped the pie dough. There's really only 3 steps, and the first is to add all of the ingredients into a large mixing bowl. We got flour, sugar, salt, and the cold butter I cut into small cubes beforehand. Then with the tips of your fingers, cut the butter pieces into the dry ingredients until you get small flour-coated butter chunks. I know that doesn't sound appetizing, but while you're doing that, add the cold water bit by bit. Keep up with this rubbing, massaging? I don't know, pressing motion until it starts to form into one rough ball of dough. And I like to do this directly on my counter to make things a little easier. Okay, so I didn't realize that my camera stopped recording, so I woke up in a panic and filmed this clip for you guys. But watching back, I realized I could have just showed you guys in the morning. But yeah, I basically wrapped the dough in some parchment paper and placed that into the fridge overnight. But you can do an hour or so. The next morning, I immediately got to work on the filling. To a large saucepan, add your frozen berry of choice. I'm going with strawberry, of course. Also add some honey, some lemon zest, and lemon juice. After mixing everything, you're gonna turn the heat to high to bring everything to a boil, and then reduce the heat to low and allow this to simmer for around 20 minutes. And this is roughly what it should look like. Blending the jam is optional, but I think I prefer it for this application. Take the dough out of the fridge and roll it out until it's about 1/8 of an inch in thickness. And I'm using a stencil here to get these rectangle pieces as even as possible, but knowing me, they'll probably still turn out a bit wonky. Make sure you have an even amount of rectangles because we're docking half of them with the iconic Pop-Tart holes, and these are going to be the tops of our tarts. With the other half, I'm adding about a tablespoon of filling per tart. Less is really more here. Explosions are imminent. I have no idea what I'm saying. But yeah, just top each one of these with a matching top piece and crimp the sides using a fork to create that classic Pop-Tart look. Bake these at 350 degrees until they're nice and golden brown, about 25 to 30 minutes. As they're baking, I threw together the icing. And the last thing to complete the Pop-Tart look are some sprinkles. Like everything else in this video, these tasted super nostalgic. Honestly, a lot better than the store-bought ones, but I don't know, I haven't tried one in maybe 6 years. I remember my friends and I were doing a bonfire, but we couldn't find graham crackers to make s'mores, so we used Pop-Tarts instead, and I feel like I need to try that again.
Well, what about the apple tarts? You wait all year for those apple tarts.
I can live without the apple tarts.
You've made up songs after eating 5 of them with lyrics that contradict that last statement.
Every year when this episode comes on, I'm immediately craving apple tarts. I don't think we ever get to see them in the show actually, but knowing Emily's exquisite taste and high standards, I can just imagine how good they are. And as we approach the Christmas and holiday season, I thought it would be fun to recreate her famous Christmas party apple tarts with a playful little festive twist. First, grab an apple and cut it down the middle. Carefully remove the core and cut the apple into very thin slices, making sure to keep the slices together in their original shape, because that's how we're going to make the tarts later. I'm cheating just a little bit here and using store-bought puff pastry dough, and I'm just rolling that out with a tiny bit of flour. Place the apple slices onto the pastry while fanning the slices out and gently pressing them into the dough. Here's the fun part, cutting out the apple shapes. I guess the festive twist on this pastry is that it looks like an apple, so leaving a bit of room between the apple slices and the edge of the pastry, I'm cutting out something that resembles an apple, and this part of the dough is going to puff in the oven and create the crust of the tart. I'm also adding a little stem and a leaf because apples have those. And before these go into the oven, I'm brushing them with a mix of melted butter, brown sugar, and a bit of cinnamon for those classic cozy fall flavors. These are so much fun. Not only are they really cute, but super tasty as well. The mix of the crispy, buttery pastry with the soft, sweet, spiced apples, so good. I know they probably aren't as chic as Emily's, but I really hope she'd approve of these. That's everything I have for you today. As always, thank you for spending time with me. I hope you're having a wonderful, cozy fall season or enjoying whatever season you're currently in. I'd love to know what shows you're currently binging. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.